This conference will now be recorded.
No. Yeah, we have one of the features that feature name is like it's a with no lock. Okay, with no lock is the default transaction isolation level in SQL Server, which will be running as a read committed statement. So we have some transactions in the SQL Server. Okay, by default when we are using the no lock, it will be automatically taking as a read committed. Okay, by default, which is a read committed transaction level will be there. Okay, in which retrieving retrieving the changing data will be blocked, meaning say for example I'm inserting some data in the employee table. Okay, yeah, so that time parallelly, when I'm inserting the data, you are retrieving the data from the same table, meaning two persons at the same time hitting the database. One person is inserting the data, another person is retrieving the data. Okay, yeah. Until first transaction is completed, the second will not be possible. Example, I have started the transaction for the insertion of the data. That time you are trying to fetch the data from the same table. That time that insertion is not yet completed. Okay, at that time when you are trying to hit the same data to fetch the data, it will not be possible until my transaction is completed, because still the insertion of data is not completed yet from my side. So when you are querying it in the database side, you will not get any results. The empty screen only you will get it. It's loading kind of thing only you will get it. Okay. Example, the syntax for that with no lock is select star, which means like column names. From here is the table name. With no lock we have to give. When we give the no lock, that time even if I'm inserting the data, when you are trying to fetch the data, you will get the data back. Even if my transaction is not completed, even if my data insertion is not completed, also you will get the data from the table. I'll tell you about, I'll repeat it. Person A is inserting the data, person B is retrieving the data from the same table. But the person A, which is inserting the data, which the transaction is not completed, but at the same time, person B is accessing the data from the same table. That time, until the person A's transaction is completed, person B cannot be retrieve the data, means cannot see the data in the table. Okay, so that time, because the transaction is going on, so until one transaction is completed, second user cannot do any operations on the particular table. So if we want to do any other transactions, like if I want to retrieve the data, even though other person is inserting, that time if the one more person wants to retrieve the data, that time we have to use the with no lock keyword on the table. So that time, even though one transaction is in process, the second user can perform the operations on the same table. I'll show it to you with the example. Now select star from employees. As I told you, like we should not use star. Always we have to go for this one itself only, column names itself. Why? Because in most of the databases, we'll have, because always most of the people will work on the BSFA domains itself only. So always will track modified by who has modified the date, means the record, who has inserted the record, when they have modified, and then what they have modified. Everything will track it. You know that one, right? So because of that, these are unwanted to show to the external user. It's not necessary to show to the external user. So I'm fetching some report. So when I'm putting that select star from, which star includes modified by, created by, modified date, modified reason, and then modified data also. So which is not required to show it to the external user. So that when I put the star, these are unnecessarily I'm getting some other information. So which will hit the performance. So there also, because of these reasons itself only we'll put the column name. So I'll put first name, comma, last name. Okay. Now I'm just clicking on employees. Okay. Now what I'll do is, one transaction, I'll open it. Oh, 1 second, I'll do that. I'm opening one employee table here. Tables, employee, script. as insert2 I'm taking it, because for the first of the process itself I'm taking it. Okay, now I'm inserting employee name as test1, last name is again last name, email I'll give training @email.com. I'm giving phone number I'll give 1234, higher date as get date, which will take the current date. Salary I'm giving as 10, is active I'm giving as active 1 I'm giving. Yeah, now before that what I'm doing is giving transaction. I'm putting it because when we are doing any DML operations like insert, update, delete, add, any operations, when we are doing it, transaction is very useful. I guess you already know the concept of transactions. If you know, I'll just give you one brief explanation about it. Transaction meaning you are inserting the data, you are performing some actions on particular table. So example, I'm inserting the employee details. Based on that employee ID, I want to insert the address details also in another table. So that time what I'm doing is I have inserted the data in the employee table, but when I'm trying to insert the data in the address table, there is a network error might happen, or there is a error in that. So that time what will happen? So if I'm not using any transaction, the data is inserted in the employee table, which I have not inserted any data in the address table, as there is a network error. So that time the data will be there in employees, the data will not be there. The same against to that particular employee, the data will not be there in the address table. So to avoid these kind of issues, we'll use the transactions. Meaning, if we use any transactions, until we commit the transaction, the data will not be stored permanently. It will be stored temporarily on the memory itself. Once we commit the transaction, the data will be stored in both the tables until and unless it will be there in the temporary memory itself. If in between, if we are using any transaction, in between that, if we get any error, the transaction will be rolled back automatically. Meaning the data will not be stored in either the table. In any table, it will not store. So it will be useful in the DML statement. So this is a very big feature. Okay. Now I have started the transaction here. Okay. Because I will insert only 1 or 2 records. So to show it to you in the live example only, I'm just giving it to you. I'm just beginning the transaction here. Now I'm just select star from employees. I'm taking it. Okay. Now execute this. 1 row affected here. Execute this. See here, still executing query. That's it you are getting. You can see, right? Because in the messages also, we are not getting anything, because some person is doing the transaction on the employee table, which I have not committed anything. Because I have not committed, because in the real-time examples, we'll do n number of actions at a time. Say, for example, when we are creating the table, when we are creating the employee, salary has to be stored, address has to be stored, leaves has to be stored, employee personal details, insurance details, everything has to be stored. So to store all these values in different tables, it may take 1 or 2 minutes of time, say for example. But in that time, other person is retrieving the data from the employee table. So that time what will happen? So the one transaction is under process by another user, but from the same table I am fetching the records. So which is incorrect. That's what only when other person is retrieving the data, it is showing like it's a loading kind of thing itself. Only we are not getting any results here. Got it, or any confusion?
Yeah, first thing is about the no lock. That's what you're trying to explain here also, right? Yeah.
Now
Apart from that,
yeah.
no.
Go
Apart from that, in case this scenario happens, there can be a slowness, right, for the select
Which one?
queries.
That's what only.
Select
That's what. Okay. Yeah. That's what. I'll come to that point itself only. Okay. Now this is the transaction state, which is under process. My transaction is under process. Still, my transaction is not yet completed. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm stopping this query, execute it again, which it will not give anything. Okay. Now stop this. Now put with no lock. Okay. Now you try to do that. There are some details. We got it, right? Because
so now
even
it is fetching the previous data, which is not yet committed, right?
Correct. But even though this is also 1 second, Deepa. Okay, even though this is okay, now what I'm doing is roll back. Okay, roll back. Now
You have not yet committed this, right?
no, I have not committed this. That's what I'm doing, roll back here. Now execute this. Did you see that? Test 1 is gone now. I'll explain you again. Now this is there. Okay, I'm inserting the data with the transaction. Okay, execute it. In the memory, temporarily it is saved. So from the temporary memory also, it will take the data. Okay, but because I'm doing it, I'm just trying to retrieve it. Okay, what it need, it has to retrieve the data from the employees table now, but the transaction is happening in another side. Okay, but even though the data, because it's a simple query, the data is inserted, but I have not committed as of now. But in the temporary memory, it's already there. Say for example, 1000 records I'm inserting now. Okay, that time what will happen? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, it will keep on inserting the data. That time maybe 20 records are inserted. By the time I'm executing select query with no lock. Okay, that time whatever it is inserted already, even in the temporary memory also, it will retrieve the data from the temporary memory also. Okay, now I'll roll back it. Now put roll back. Now you retrieve from the temporary memory, whatever it is saved temporarily, it is removing it now. Okay, got it. Now what I'll do is, now I'll commit this. Okay, now you don't do any no lock also here. Okay, now I'll commit directly here. Insert. Done. Now you do it. Done. It's came. Got it. Even when you give no lock or even without giving also, it will work because the transaction is not in process. I have already committed the transaction here. Okay. Right. Okay. So the tip is, the performance tip is like here, when we are using any select statements, always we have to use the no lock condition. Okay. Otherwise, these kind of performance issues we will get it. The example, 1 second. Yeah. The example when we have to, because, but there is a other problem also when we are using the no lock. Say for example, as a user, I'm updating the data for employee 1. Okay, employee is Suresh. Okay, but parallelly, maybe Deepa, you are retrieving the details for same Suresh. Okay, that time my transaction is under process. I'm changing Chakradhara Suresh Kumar is there, but there is a spell mistake. They have given maybe only Chakra. They have given. Now they want to change that one to Chakradhara, but they are typing it. They're executing it. It has to change in maybe lot of places. Say for example, okay, or else maybe at a time for 100 users they are updating it. Okay, that time when you are retrieving the data with the no lock, even though for the employee ID Chakradhara it is done, the transaction still under process. I have not committed as of now. You will not get that modified data properly, because whatever it is permanently saved, that one only you will get it. Even when you are 100 users, they are inserting that, where they are updating it. 100 users, you are getting the information for the same 100 users. Whatever it is done as of now, that information you will get it properly. Whatever it is not done, you will not get it, because no lock is there, because you are not considering the updated data. You are just trying to get the information. So these kind of problems you will get it. So it's better when to use the no lock and when to use without no lock. That has to decide by the developers. Example, when we can go for it. You want the historical data. Say for example, 2020 and 19 and 20 bank statement you want it. Okay, yeah. Or else last week transactions you want it. That time you can go ahead and then keep no lock, because even that time if another transactions are going on the particular customer, you can say use the no lock, because you are not fetching the latest data, you are fetching the previous data. So you are fetching the historical data itself and not the current data, right? That's what only in that ways you have to think it, and then you have to apply the no lock. Sometimes, okay, this is the one case. Sometimes when you are fetching the information, maybe sometimes you will get most frequent errors like the transaction is under process, or DTMS errors, like that you will get it. Okay, that time you can look into that query. If no lock is not there, then so you can apply the no lock and then you can see. Okay, so there is a drawback, as I told you. You will not get the uncommitted data properly. Okay, you will get whatever it is committed already. That one only you will get it in certain scenarios. Okay, any questions now with the no lock?
As you said, I think this should only be used for critical, business critical.
Correct. See, say for example, when you are inserting the data, always when you are selecting the data, that time no lock, when you use it, there is a drawback, I told you, right? That's what only, that you should be very careful. Based on some particular requirements we can apply. You got it right, because some people what they'll do it, they will just try to update maybe reason, maybe sometimes maybe some address maybe. So but you are not fetching that address details in maybe some particular scenarios. You want in some particular scenarios you want only employee first name last name. That time you don't want any address, but other person is updating the address. That time you can aramse use the no lock, right? Because there is no dependency for you. You can just aramse use no lock and you can retrieve the information, right? So these kind of scenarios based on that, because the requirement will be drafted in the requirement document. Based on that itself, only when you are writing the query, in the query itself only you can just put the no lock. Got it? Any confusion?
No.
You're good, right? Okay. Now one more thing I'll show it to you. Okay, then this is with the no lock. Now I'll show it to you. Function. What is a function? I'll show it to you now.
I also wanted to know when you add a transaction.
Correct.
Is that what is called SP? No, right? This transaction, will they be used in SPs also? SP creation?
Yes, it will be there in SPs itself. It will be there. Say, for example, in the stored procedures, what we'll do is at the beginning itself only begin transaction I'll put. Once this insertion is done, okay, yeah. So this insertion is not dependent on any other things. Okay, say for example, I'm inserting one employee, I'm creating one employee, and parallelly, if I'm creating this employee, I just wanted to delete one more employee. Okay, you got it? That time what I can do is I can just commit this transaction again, delete from employees, where condition I can give, where employee ID equal to 2. Here again I can just open the transaction. Yeah, begin transaction, again I can just open it. Oh, so there is no dependent. So that's what in this case itself only multiple transactions we can use it, and then we can parallelly go ahead and then use it. Okay, in the SPs itself only we want it. Even from the C# side also we will use it. Sometimes in the backend also we'll use it. Okay, sometimes maybe users may forget to include the transactions in the C# side. Mostly always the transactions will be handled by the front end itself only. Okay, but in some cases people will use in the back end. Okay, so in the backend scenarios, you can use the transactions in the SQL server in the stored procedures. It's the query, the syntax is very simple. Begin transaction, at the end commit. If you don't want anything, you can just roll back. Rollback also I have shown it to you, right? How to use the rollback. If you want, again, I can just show it to you if you want. Rollback. This is the rollback, meaning it is temporarily saved, but you do not want to save this information in the table. So when the rollback is occurred, you can just click on this. Example, in which scenario you will use the rollback, I'll tell it to you for your testing perspective. So you are trying to update some information, okay, or you are trying to insert some hundreds of records in the database, but to check that whether how much time it is taking to insert 100 records, you just wanted to check it, okay. That time temporarily the data will be saved with no-lock. By using with no-lock, you are seeing the data, right? That time you are checking that, yeah, whether maybe it is taken maybe 20 seconds or 30 seconds, but you do not want to commit these information because it's a sensitive data which you do not want to store anything. So that time you can come back to the previous query and then you can just click on rollback. That time whatever it is already temporarily saved will be rollback. Got it or any confusion?
No.
Okay. And if I'm getting any error in between that, say for a rollback in other cases means for the developers, I'm inserting the data here, but so parallelly I'm inserting in few other tables also. In one of the tables, we may get maybe primary key and foreign key relationship. Maybe there is no data, or maybe timeout error, or maybe some other, maybe database is down that time. So that time in the try catch blocks, in the catch block, we'll roll back that one, because when we use the try catch, if any error occurs, definitely it will come back to the catch block. That time we'll use the rollback there. So automatically, whatever the temporarily saved the data, it will be rolled back to that time. Okay, this is one. Now I'll show you another feature, which is like no distinct. I'll come back to you. Function, SQL functions. You know already function, right? SQL functions. Stored procedure we have, function we have. Function must have a name, and the function name can never start with a special character such as @ $, hash, and so on. Functions only work with a select statement, meaning we will not have any DML statements in the function. DML meaning data manipulation language, which is like insert, update, delete. These transactions will not be there in the functions, okay. And functions can be used anywhere in SQL, like average, count, sum, minimum, date, and so on. With the select statements only we'll use it. These are like average, count, sum. These are the aggregate functions, okay. And functions compiles every time when we are running any query. If we are using function, that time the compilation will be done that time itself only, okay. Functions must return a value or result, because meaning function always will return a value. Without return statement, function will not be there. SQL function. Stored procedures are there, which you need not to return any value. Stored procedures can be used to update, insert, delete also, but functions cannot be used for this, and function always return a value. Whereas stored procedure, you can just insert, leave like that only. The stored procedure job is done, but in the function always you have to return some value, because the function will always return a value, okay. And function only with the input parameters, without having any means output parameters will not be there in the function. Always with the input parameters only will have it. Try catch statements will not be used in the functions, meaning exception handling cannot be possible in the functions, because directly we will not call any function in the coding side. Always we'll call the functions in the through stored procedure itself only. Directly function we cannot call anywhere. So that's what only in the stored procedures, when we are doing any transactions, that time if we are getting any error, definitely try catch will be there. So even in the function we'll get if we get any error, that time the try catch will work in the SP itself only. So we need not to write any try catch, even it is not possible to write the try catch in the function. Okay, any questions now? As I told you, function will always return a value. It must and should, it should return a value, or maybe table also, maybe table of data also it can return, but always it should return some value. That's it.
So then functions are used mostly for what reasons, like what scenarios?
Say for example, you have some comma separated values. Say for example, employee 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you have some comma separated value. Okay, yeah. You are trying to say, for example, these are the employees. Employee 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, yeah. That time you want to insert or you want to update another data by using this data, by using these employee IDs. Okay, yeah. So in the stored procedure, what I'm doing, I am writing the update statement. Okay, that time when I'm writing the update statement, always I cannot pass all these employees at a time. That time what it has to do, I'll write one function for the comma separated, which will return only one value at a time. So that time I'll take that employee ID, I'll update it. Again, it will in the loop, it will come back to that function. Again, it will return the second next employee ID. Then again, I'll update. These kind of scenario itself only will use the functions. Okay, always it cannot have, it will not have any individual things to do it. Always we should call this one in the stored procedure itself only. The very good example which I have given is like comma separated values. If I have it, I just wanted to individually take every one by one, then the input parameter I'll pass as a one by one means the comma separated
Voice
value.
is breaking, Suresh, from last 2 minutes.
Oh God. Okay. Am I audible now or again? Hello. Am I audible
Yeah,
now?
now
Okay.
it's better.
Okay. You got it? What I'm trying to say, or you did not get it?
I think last 1 minute, I think it was breaking.
Yeah,
I
because
could
you
not
have
unmute
comma
also.
separated. Yeah. Because we have some comma separated employee ID. Okay, yeah. So that time you want to update some other information by using that employee ID. So at a time it cannot be possible, because the prior to that I just have to take some other information. I have to take that value, as well as I have to take each and individual employee ID, then take that employee ID and then process the update in the next table. But as the input parameter in the SP, I have the comma separated employee IDs, which is a multiple employee IDs I have. So at a time for other table, I cannot pass that all the employee IDs. So what I have to do, I have to take individual employee IDs and then I have to perform the other actions. That time I'll write one function for the comma separated values to split to return only one value at a time. So that the function will return one value. Then I'll take that value and then I'll go ahead and then I'll update other table. Any other confusion?
So the functions are used to deal with any runtime data, right?
Yes, correct. Say for example, and one more thing, you want to find out the total salary, okay, which is complicated, which when you are writing maybe in the store procedure, it will lengthy process again, right? So say for example, if a total salary, if it is a select total of something, you can do it, but to do that one, you have to do other things also. So because of that, this is the individual total. When you are calculating it, it's better you write one function, so that when you are passing any value to the function, it will give the total, because function will return value. You take that return value and then you do the manipulation in the SQL, means the stored procedure. So these kind of, in the rare scenarios, you can use the function. You can do that one in the stored procedure also, but in rare scenarios, like I told you, like in the comma separated values, I have the more employees or more values, but individually at a time I just wanted to take one value. That time function will be used. Okay, at the runtime, if you want to perform as you said, we can go ahead and then do the functions. We can call the functions. Okay, I'll give it to you one example with the functions now. Here I have one this one function here. like it's a calculate something other information I have put that calculate bonus with return null. Okay, so in the functions, the drawbacks in the functions are, say for example, you from the stored procedure you are calling one function. Okay, but example you want to calculate the bonus. Okay, bonus you want to calculate for particular employee. So for that the function employee, say for example here you are having say employee ID. Okay, here employee ID you are passing, but in the SP when you are passing this employee ID, that employee ID might be null also that time. Maybe sometimes maybe null values also will return. Sometimes in the table in the when we are just dealing with the multiple transactions with the more SQL queries, we'll get some null values also. That time when we are passing that null value to the function to retrieve some data, what will happen? Even though the function will execute it, it may return null value that time also. It will not give any error, I'm sure, because even if it gives null also, we are getting some error that time. Try catch block anyway it will handle it, but unnecessarily if you are passing that null value, if you are executing the function, it will take time because there is no need to access it. See, you are just calculating some maybe total amount or average amount in the function, but to whom you are checking the total or average salary for particular employee, but that particular employee ID itself only null, so you need not to calculate anything. So that time we have some feature with like with returns null on null input. We have this one. Can you see my screen? Is it visible properly for you?
Yeah.
Okay, we can use in the function. This is a very good option. If we put this with null on null input, what will happen in the here? Actually, in this parameter, I'm passing integer which is a null, but when I'm calling this function, this value is a null. That time, what will happen? It will not execute anything. Directly, it will return null value to me. Got it? Any confusion?
So you're trying to handle any null value input there.
Yeah, see, if I'm passing any null value into the function, okay, what it will happen? Return integer. Actually, if I don't have this line here, okay, what it will give? It will go ahead and then it will return this value. Okay, it will always execute this one. Okay, but if I put this one, this line with returns null on null input, it will not execute anything.
So is this one of the best practice for better performance?
This conference will now be
Can you see my
recorded.
screen?
Yeah.
Okay, now see when we are passing any null value to the function, so without it's no need to run all these statements. So if I put this statement here, it will not execute these lines because unnecessarily to execute these lines at the runtime. So directly it will return the null. Say the statement itself only is readable, like it's a with returns null on null input. When I have the null input, always return the null value. Okay, so it will not execute any of these things and then it will directly give the null value there. So the performance will be always increased. Okay, the performance will be definitely improved also. Okay, this is a very good feature again in the function. It's better if we keep this statement in the functions. You can check in your database when you try to open the function, you can just see it. Okay, if it is not there, maybe you can just ask them to keep it if it is taking more time. Any questions?
I'm good.
You're good, right? Okay. Now next one I'll show you. As I told you, like functions and the stored procedures, there is a difference. Stored procedures in the DML operations also we can do it. DMLs are like insert, update, delete. Okay, and then try catch also can be possible. But even in functions, function always for the input parameters itself only, there will not be no output parameter will be useful in the function, and the function will always return a value, either it is a single value or it's a tabular format also. Okay, inside the stored procedure will call the function cannot be directly called in the front end. Okay, always will use the functions in the stored procedure. So this is the useful for the function. Okay, now we have another feature called distinct. Okay, the useful of the distinct is the select distinct statement is used to return only distinct different values only. Example, how to use the distinct keyword: select distinct employee id comma employee name from the employee table. This is the distinct, which meaning like it's a only different values. Distinct values meaning like it's a unique values only it will return it. It will avoid the duplicate values. Okay, since certain scenarios when we are fetching any data from the database, say for example, you will find out that the duplicates also from the table. Okay, yeah. Example, maybe employee. Okay. One second. Update employees. Set first name equal to. Again, I'm keeping this one as Isha. First name equal to tech I'm giving. There employee ID equal to X. Draw a factor. Select star from employees. Select first name, last name from employees. Isha Tech. Now I have an employee, I have first name, last name, and other columns also. When you say this, select star from employees, I'll put here. Select star from employees. Okay, here in this table, what I'm doing is here Isha Tech. Okay, and other information I have. But when I'm trying to fetch the information, I'm always fetching the first name and the last name. So what is happening here? It sees like for the user, it sees like there is a repetition of data. Okay, that time to avoid this repetition of data, we'll use that distinct, which will give unique values itself only. Now when you put the distinct here, it is giving only unique values, which is it is deleted other employee which is having the Isha and Tech name, right? So the distinct is always used to fetch the unique records itself only. But always when you see the stored procedure or some other places, you will find out the distinct keyword in the query which users may be written. But sometimes this is okay, which is good for me. I can use it, but there is a performance drawback. SQL server has to look into the table and then it has to apply other conditions internally. Like it's a wildcard search, it will insert in the SQL query background. It will just try to apply the wildcard search and it will refresh the query and then it will return the data to the user. So to So what SQL Server is doing internally, it is firing another query which users may not know that, but SQL Server has to perform that one. So it is a time consuming again. So when users are doing this distinct, if you are observing like there is a performance hit, I'll just slightly modify here. Email. Okay, now delete distinct here. You do it, you run it now. What is happening here? The email ID is different. Even though first name and the last name is same, email ID is different. So these 4 columns are unique now. There is no common data here now. But now when I execute this one, the same input I got it. Even when I execute same SQL Server query, it will return the 4 records now. Because these are the unique records itself only. There is no repetition of data. Okay, so you have to identify when users are doing any distinct, if they are using it, you ask them to try to put any non-common column there and then try to ask them to fetch the result. Example, I'll give it to you. Now the user want only first name comma last name. Okay, they want to show it in the report. Okay, that time what will happen? Users will see that Ishatech. They may say like these are the Ishatech, it is repeating, but they doesn't know this is belongs to some other user with some other employee, because employee name can be common. Maybe employee email ID always will be, it's a different itself only. So we have to ask the customer or some other developer to keep another which is a non-unique column in the database, so that the result will be unique that time. So there will not be any confusion also. Got it, or any questions
No,
now?
only the unique column selection should be done. Is the
Yeah, correct.
input
But
here, right?
sometimes based on the query, we'll get still the means repeated data. That time maybe you can go ahead and then do it, because in very rare cases only we'll get that. So that time we must use the distinct. There is no other way, we cannot do that. We have to just apply some other non-unique column, unique columns also. Still, if there is a problem, then we can just give them. But we have to give them the suggestions to use, not to use the distinct always. It's not a good practice to use the distinct keyword. Okay, this is a very good performance issue. Again, it will hit. Okay. One more.
If not distinct to speed up the select queries, what others can be used then? Select definitely the unique values, unique column names can be used.
Unique column names only we have to use it.
But
Unique, yeah, tell me,
apart,
go ahead.
okay.
Yeah, because see, unique column, see, whatever,
No,
based
in
on
case
the
I am
requirement.
trying to search for a very.
No, Deepa, can you repeat, because your voice is
Now, what I
can
was
you
saying
repeat
is,
the question?
in case,
Huh?
yeah, in case I'm trying to query on a, I mean, maybe do a search on a very big table, huge table, and at maybe if I'm saying like I'm searching for contact with maybe like 40,000 contacts are there, and I have to search for a particular name. So that time, then if not distinct, then what else can be used to speed up the select queries?
No, that's what only. To speed up the select queries, what you can do is, I have told you, like with no lock, because other transactions will not be impact here, right? With no lock, you can use it. And that too, when you are doing the select query or any other operations, what it will be there, set no count on, I have told you, right? Hello?
No, what I was asking is, in case I'm just doing a search, I'm like doing a contact search, and the table for contact is like very huge one, maybe 40,000 contacts are there. And if I use distinct, there can be a performance slowness, right? So
Correct.
in case, so the only option we have is like to have a select query with unique columns, right? Is what you said.
Correct. Distinct
Is there
is
any
used
other
to
way to speed up?
no, to speed up meaning like there is no other go. You have to put the filter conditions. Where conditions only you can put that. Where condition you can apply, which will not be any performance hit, because always it will filter the values, right? So that based on the requirement, based on your requirement, you put the where condition there. Example, say for example, you are putting the where
I got
employee
it. But
name.
if I'm just doing a contact search, like very generic one is like contact search, right? I
Correct.
don't have any conditions. I want all the contacts of this name. Say John. A lot of foreign employees, I mean foreign contacts will be with the John. So this is very generic search, right? Where we do not put any where clause.
Correct. But there, if you want any distinct, see, that's what only. When you are putting star, anyway, you will not get any repetition of data, because in the live database always created by, modified by, and then IDs also will be different for that, right? Because when you are just searching for the employee contact table, there will be any employee will be there. So you just put that employee ID. So there will not be any repetition of the data, because employee ID is different for others, for each and everyone, right?
Yeah, I think I got it. Maybe if not select, maybe then I think index will come into picture, right? For any such
No,
separate
index is like it's a performance again. Index is something different.
Okay.
Okay, I'll come back to you that index now. Okay, I have
Sure.
another concept which I'll tell you. Then I'll go ahead and come back. Now I'll tell you one transactions. Again, I'll come back to you one transaction. Okay. Now I have. I'm using one begin transaction. Okay. Why I'm telling you this transactions are because when we are using any transactions I told you like this is very useful if we want to commit the data properly for all the tables. Say for example, if there is no dependency, only one insert statement you have in one table, that time you do not need to use any transaction, because if it is fails, it failed, that's it, it will not insert. If it is passed, it passed, that's all. There is no other dependency. But there is other dependency also, which when you are inserting the data in the employee table, once after insertion is done, you take that employee ID and then perform insertion in other tables also. That time there is a dependency. That time you have to use the transactions for sure. Otherwise, you will try to insert the data in one table, it is already inserted, but in another table when you are trying to insert it, there is a error, which that time it will not insert in the further tables, right? So that time transactions will be useful. Okay, yeah. So now here what I'm doing is transaction, I'm doing it, I'm just select star from. First of all, what I'm doing is here put one select statement here my ID, because with SPID means like with this, when I'm opening another query window, for each and every tab there will be a ID will be there for me, which is a SPID. Okay, that's what there. This is my SPID 62. Okay, I have opened one transaction. I'm selecting employee details here. Actually transactions will be used for the DMLs for insertion, deletion, and then updation, but I'm giving you with the simple example itself only, so that you will understand. Now I have opened the transaction here. Okay, now in another window what I'm doing is I'm selecting other things, I'm executing another execute it 63. This is 62 mine. Okay, now put this, run this begin transaction. It is not performing anything, because on the same table I'm already one transaction is going on, so that this transaction is not started as of now. Okay, I'll show you with the example now. open different window, check this. My SP IDs, what are the session IDs? 62, comma 63. What is 62 and 63? In this one, this is the SP ID 62. In another window, which is this one, when I execute this one, I got the 63. So I'm passing here 62 and 63 here. Now run it and then see. My 63, my first transaction is this one, which is under process. So second transaction, when I'm opening this one, which is not yet performed as of, which is not yet started as of now, because this transaction on the particular employee table still on the process. So that's what only, it is not started as of now. So when you see this 63, what is happening here? It is waiting. Can you see this? Request status still waiting. There is a lock, right? Can you see my screen? Is it visible to you? Because you are taking from mobile,
Yeah.
that's what. Okay, this is waiting because it is waiting to complete this transaction, right? Once this transaction is done, the next transaction will be started and then it will be completed. Okay, so because of that, what I'm trying to say is that transactions, whatever we are keeping, always it should be short and sweet. It should be very few statements only should happen on the transactions. Based on that itself only we should think and then we should apply the transactions. Always bluntly on the FP side, you start the transaction. After that, after the 1,000 lines of statements, you should not put the commit. In some scenarios, it may happen that we cannot avoid anything. But in some scenarios, we can go ahead and then do it with the part by part transactions. Example, you are creating the employee, that time transactions you are opened it, okay, at that time you have to insert the data in the address table. That time these two will be there in the other transaction, in one transaction maybe, but there is a other concept called maybe SMS you have to send once the employee is created, or maybe you have to send an email to the particular employee, like your email ID has been created or your details has been updated, like that. So there is no dependency for the email sent. That time you can apply the transactions for the employee and then address. You can open another transaction or you can put outside the transaction that email sending option, so that the transactions will be very less, with the very less statements. The performance also will be done fast and then the work job also will be done very fast. Got it, or any questions? I'll repeat. Transactions always, when we are trying to implement it, it should be always very less statements itself only. We should not use more statements in the transactions. When we are using more statements, as I shown you in the example, still the transaction is going on. When you are trying to do some other things, it is not happening because the transaction still it is not completed. So whatever it is required, whatever it is possible, we have to keep that statement only in the transactions. So you begin the transaction, once that performance, once particular performance is done, one action is done, close the transaction, open. When you want other details, you just open another transaction, you do it. So independent tasks you need not to keep in the transaction. You can keep that one in the outside of the transaction, or independent tasks you can keep in different transactions. You can complete the tasks in time with the performance improvement, or else there will be a performance hit always. Got it, or any confusion again?
Yeah, but in real time, what I have seen is the SPs are like very huge ones.
Correct.
Maybe it requires a lot of complexity, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
in real time, I don't think we can avoid keeping it short, right?
Only. That's what only. Whenever it is required, say I have given you one example. You are creating one customer, right? When you are creating in the banking sectors, when you are creating one customer, in one SP itself only will do all the things. Open the customer account and then update the address details. Once after that, whatever the customer has given the mobile number, you will send an message. Your account has been created, and then you will send an email. Please verify your email address, like that, right? So that's what only, that SMS and then email is different. It is not depending on the employee's creation. There is no dependency. Like once the customer ID is created, you can just send an email. After that, you can just go ahead and then process other things. So you can keep these things outside of the transactions, right? So
Yeah,
when you
got
are
it.
checking
What?
these,
Yeah.
yeah, you can see if you see these kind of scenarios, if they are using the transaction from the top and then if they are closing the transaction at the bottom, you can just tell them like you can split the transactions here because there will be a huge improvement in the performance. Okay.
Okay. The main point here is like we have to keep transaction to target at one independent transaction alone.
Correct. So if there is no dependency, you can just go ahead and then keep a number of transactions, right? You can just keep more numbers. See here, say for example, as I told you, like you are inserting one employee. So by default, you have created one customer. Okay, but you want to, you have given some information which you do not need to keep inactive. You can directly delete that employee. You means customer. You can just create one more customer, right? That time, what is happening? You will just pass two parameters there, customer ID for the deletion, customer ID and other details for the insertion, right? So that time what you can do for the deletion, you can just open one transaction, close that, commit that once it is done. Then coming forward, open another transaction, do other things. So these are the two different transactions you have opened it. So once when the one transaction is done, other transaction is opened, right? So there is a waiting time is very less that time. So these are the independent tasks, right? So you can just keep independent tasks in different transactions. Always it's better to keep that one so that the performance also will be improved. Any questions?
No.
Then next thing I'll come to you for index creation. Can we continue now or will continue tomorrow?
It is 9:32.
Yeah, your wish.
We can continue.
We can continue.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Okay, I'll tell you one more. 1 second, Deepa, sorry. Now the other concept is index. Okay. Indexes are, we have some two types of indexes we have, like it's a clustered index and non-clustered index. Index will be used to retrieve the data in a faster manner. So if we are having any slowness when we are retrieving any information from the database, that time we can go ahead and then create the index on the table. Okay, so there are two types of indexes, which is like it's a clustered and non-clustered. Clustered index, this is the clustered index defines the order in which data is physically stored in a table. Okay, table data can be stored in only way, therefore there can be only one clustered index per table. Meaning when you are creating any primary key, that time the primary key, what is the meaning of primary key? It is a unique and not null, meaning always there should be a unique number will be assigned for the primary key, and then null will not be there. Null will not be assigned to a particular clustered index, means the primary key. So that time when you are creating any primary key, that time automatically the clustered index will be created on the particular table, so that when you are checking any data, say for example the clustered index I have already created on the table, okay, employee. So when you are checking EMPLO by select start from employees, you can find out here 1 2 3 4 5 records I have deleted, so that's what only these two were missed. 6, so it is in one particular order. By default, when you are running, if any clustered index is created and when you are performing any operation select query, that time with the clustered index, with that unique ID, it will be automatically gives the output in a particular fashion, in a particular way. So as I given you in this example, the data is physically stored in a table. The table data can be stored in only one way. Therefore, there can be only one clustered index in place. So, as I told you, the primary key constraint automatically creates a clustered index on the particular column. Okay, so the data will be faster when we are creating it. So, always when you check in any table, there will be a one index automatically will be created, which is like a clustered index, so that when you are retrieving the data based on that clustered index, the information will be faster. The non-clustered index, each index row in the non-clustered index contains the non-clustered key value and a row locator. This locator points to the data row in the clustered index. The row in the index are stored in the order of the index key values. Non-clustered index will not be stored physically stored in the table. Okay, yeah. What will happen when you create any non-clustered index? The location, the ID, the reference ID will be stored in the table, but the actual data will be stored in different place. So that non-clustered index, when we are using it, there will be a performance issue also. But the performance issue, when it will come, if you use more indexes on a particular table, more non-clustered index I'm talking about, more indexes on a particular table, what it should happen, index, why we will use it for the fashion process. So automatically the SQL server keep the data in a particular fashion, the way we have created the index. Okay, when you are trying to insert the data again in a particular table, what it should happen, the SQL server again, it will check for the index fashion, the way which we have created it. Again, it has to refresh the index and it has to set the data in a particular fashion, so that when we are fetching any data again, it will return the information very fast. So what is happening when you are inserting the data also, there will be a lookup is happening from the SQL server to reset the data in a particular fashion which we have created in the index in a particular way. So always we should not use more index if always more transactions are happening in a particular table. More index I'm telling. Normal index 1 or 2, it's okay. But if we are going for more indexes, always it has to look for each and every index. It has to reset the data, refresh the data. It has to keep in a particular fashion, so that it will retrieve the data when we are fetching, whenever it is required from us, right? So I'll give you the example how we will create the index.
Coming back to the clustered and non-clustered index, right?
Tell me, yes.
So whenever we create an index on a particular table, clustered index will happen directly on the primary key.
Correct.
Non-clustered index on
Non-clustered
any
index
other
also. No, that's what a non-clustered index also will be created, but clustered index meaning like only on particular one table itself only it will be created, right? So the data will be stored in the physical, but when you are creating the non-clustered index, the key and value pair it will set it up, so that the key and the value be stored in the different, maybe in the say, you know, that master database, MSDB database which you will have, you know that one, right, in the SQL server. So that the actual data will be stored there, and the reference will be there, the reference key will be stored in the main table, so that when we are requesting the data, always it has to look in all the reference tables and it will fetch the data. Got it?
So the main main points here is like the non-cluster index will happen on a primary key and a reference row.
No. Clustered index on primary key. Non-clustered index I'm creating and then I'll tell you. Okay.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah, I am not clear about the non-index here.
That's what only. Non-clustered index can create other than primary keys. Say for example, on the primary key, you have already clustered index, right? So when you are fetching the data from the select star from first name comma last name, okay, employee ID, that time it will return because already clustered index is already there. But in your order by class or in the where class, you are always filtering the data, right, by using the where class, right? Always when you are filtering the data and then you are putting one order by say date created, or maybe order by employee means first name, or order by employee last name, you are keeping that one, order by keyword, right? So that time this order means you are not filtering anything, you are keeping the data in a particular order which you want it, right? So you want first name descending or you want last name descending by default, right? That time always if you do not have any index, what it will happen, it will just take the data, then order by will be executed on top of it. So there will be a two statements against in the SSMS, it is it is executed. But in case if you create index on the last name, right, that time what will happen, always SSMS will set the data in a particular format in the memory. When you are retrieving it in the particular order we have already created the index, it will fetch the records because it's already keep the data in a particular fashion, right? That's what only. See, this is the create non-clustered index employee underscore first name. This is that I'm creating it employee first name, sorry. Okay, now I'm creating the indexing on the particular first this first on the first name. What it will happen that time when we are keeping order by select star from employees. Okay, when you are keeping this one, what will happen, select star from employee, because by default clustered index is there, so it's given the output on the order by 1 2 3 6, right? Now I want the information order by first name. Okay, now execute this. What happened? 1 Isha, Pavan, Suresh. In this order itself only I want it. But the clustered index, in which way it has kept the data? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because this is the unique index. I have kept that. But when I'm retrieving the data, I want in this order. I want in this order, right? That's what only I'm creating one more index. So when I'm creating the index on this column, what SQL will say, SQL server will keep the data in a particular order. It will keep ready for our next execution. It will keep in the memory for our next execution. Okay. So when you are keeping this, when you are running this one, if the index is there already, it will very fastly it will retrieve the data because we have already set the data in a particular order wise, so that the records will get it very fast. Any questions or any confusion?
So creating an index is one-time job, or do we do it runtime?
It's a one-time job. That's what only what I'm doing is I am creating the index on this. I'm creating on the let's create it. That's it. And I'm executing this, so it is not happening. Transactions coming on. One second, Deepa. Let me check if there is any transaction.
Suresh, you're okay to continue?
Yeah, it's okay, no problem. I'll finish it up once this is done. This concept is done. Okay. Are you okay, or you have any work?
No, I was just asking you.
Which is correct, I'll change this. First name, which is correct. I'll execute the query tomorrow and then I'll show it to you, Deepa. Because it is
Okay.
taking more time, I don't know, because maybe in the SQL server, maybe it is a problem or something. I'll execute it and then I'll tell it to you. Okay. Now,
Sure.
as I told you, like the indexes are useful when we are keeping in the order by. You will see in many places like order by, right? So order by first name, comma, last name also. How many ever columns you wanted, you can keep that one. Okay. In the order by, if you have 3 columns, always this is the query in all the places. Maybe if you are using this order, then you have to create the index on this particular fashion, like first name, comma, last name, like that you can give, and then you can create one index on the particular table, so that SQL server will keep the data in the particular order which we have created, one particular index which we have created, so that when we are running the query again with the select statement, by giving this order by, automatically the retrieve will be very faster, because SQL server already in the memory itself, it's kept the data in the memory, so that the retrieval will be faster. Got it? Any confusion?
What I didn't understand is like the non-clustered index are always created by the order by.
No, it's not an order by. See, by order by, say for example, index.
It
How
is
the
useful
index will
for
be set?
order. Okay,
No,
it is useful
index.
for
What will
the.
you get? Yeah, correct. Tell me.
So
Go
it
ahead.
is useful for the transactions which uses order by.
No, it's not a yeah, correct. Order by meaning, say for example, you have employee table some 1000 records. Okay, you are always fetching the information particular order, which is fine, no problem, by using the employee ID basis. So already clustered index already created on that, so that in one particular order the data is already there, so you can retrieve very fast. But what you are doing based on the requirement, first what the in my report, I'm just generating one report, okay, which is an employee report. Okay, that time what the client is requested is, I want the data to be displayed in a employee name wise. Okay, the name should be in the descendant order. First employee last name has to come, then employee first name has to come, but the report has to display employee last name descending, or else employee name ascending, right? First with a letter last name, say for example Deepa Chakradhara, okay, and maybe some other Ganesh is there. So last name is Chakradhara for me, Deepa is your last name, Ganesh another thing is there. So they want Chakra to be first, Deepa next, then Ganesh is last. But in the database, first Deepa has created, next Ganesh has created, next Chakra has created. So when you are retrieving the data, what will happen? First Deepa, Ganesh, Chakra will be displayed on the report, because I have not set in order by, right? So, but client want first Chakra, then Deepa, then Ganesh they wanted. So what we'll do that time? Order by only will keep it to fetch the data in a particular order, right? So when we are fetching the data in a particular order, what we are doing? We are fetching the records first, then we are setting in a particular order. So it's a time taken. First fetch the records, then put it in a particular order. So to avoid this, we'll create the index on this table. Okay, yeah. So that time what will happen? SQL Server will keep the data in a particular index fashion, whatever we have given it, it will keep in the memory, the data. So when we are fetching when we are using this order by any of the select statement, it will easily retrieve the data because that order is already set in the memory, right? So that's what the retrieval will be very fast. Any confusion? So now you have created the index in this particular order, but you are keeping again here the phone number. Okay. That time the retrieval will not be faster because I have not created any index on this particular 3 keys. I have created the index only on these 2 order bytes itself only. So again, it will be slower itself only. But so if you are using this order by, then better to create the index again on this particular order. Okay. So n number of indexes you can create it, but there is a performance set because on the particular employees table, always I'm doing the transactions like updation or insertion. That time what will happen? I have created the index in the particular in this order as well as in this order. What should happen? These two statements again it has to execute. It has to keep the data in the memory for my next retrieval purpose. Even I have created one more index. This is in this fashion. That time it has to keep the data in this particular fashion so that it has to refresh the data, insert the data again, keep the data in this fashion. So it will be very slow process. So always we have to think in case of very useful, go for the index creation. In case of more not transactions are not happening. Got it or any confusion?
So while we are creating a non-clustered index, we should always check for the way the transaction or retrieval is done, right?
Correct.
And
The
create
order
it based on that.
Correct. We have to think about the order, but based on that itself only we have to give it. Okay. Now,
So in
when you
real
are
time,
giving it, yeah, tell me.
so in real time, if suppose a particular transaction, like maybe search is happening always on first name, then you go ahead and create the index by first name,
Correct.
right?
By first name. First name. Yes, correct. So you have created the index on first name and last name too, right? But here the order by is last name and first name. It will not work. The order which you have given here, the index has to be created in a particular fashion itself. Got it?
In case coming back to the search functionality only, if that search is happening in any order, like I said, contact has its related forms and related funds, and contact can be searched for on a first name, last name, or a fund related or a firm related, all this. So in such cases where there we want to retrieve all the contacts, whatever it is related or whatever it is searched on, like I said, right, search can be on any of that, then we can go and create it on all those columns, whatever, right?
No, that's what only. I'm not talking about the search. I'm talking about the order by itself only, right? Search is the filter, right? Search meaning you are filtering the data, right? Order by is you are setting by ascending wise or descending wise. That's it. You are not filtering anything by using the order. You are just keeping the data in a particular fashion itself only, right? Whether either
Okay,
descending or either ascending. So
okay.
in the search, yeah, go ahead.
So would that help in SQL to go ahead and scan it in that fashion alone?
Meaning, come again.
In that case, since we are creating based on a particular order
Correct.
by columns, so it depends. I mean, the SQL process will be done based on that.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. So index we should create the index based on the order by condition itself only. It will not dependent on maybe search or something. Search is a filter condition, which is something different. Tomorrow I'm going for the search condition also. when you have to go for search, okay, how you have to perform the search operations. Okay, tomorrow I'll cover that. For now, I'll stop recording and then we'll continue on that if you have any